Total quality management came about after all of those years, all of those efforts by folks like Deming and Juran through the 1950s, through the 1980s, and total quality management became this buzzword going around through manufacturing, and it really took off as a popular management system in the 1990s. It has been integrated through HACCP systems. A lot of the Food and Drug Administration regulations have been based on total quality management principles. So there's several methods integrated throughout total quality management. It has a focus on management, constant process improvement. We can use tools. It's consumer-oriented. We're thinking long-term and such. So here we have the 8 concepts of total quality management that I'll be going through step by step over the next few slides. First, let's think about customer satisfaction. So here we need to focus on the customers, not just the products or services. Oftentimes it's easy to get carried away thinking about what we're going to measure of that product next. But let's go out and do some market research and see what the customers think. Let's listen to them. And as we listen to them, we can send out surveys. We can look at our customer complaint data. You can think about the other methods you can use to listen to the customers. And we ask questions like, what is our product and is it serving the expectations of the customer? So how is the quality performing? And another point here is, let's define customer. Is customer only the people who are buying your product? No, it's not, because the customers within your own organization are the employees working at your company, so they're customers too. So as we're trying to implement changes in our quality management, let's look at how our own employees are responding to that. So we'll focus on the customer, determine the level of quality compared to what the customer wants, and then we can look at improvement opportunities. Next, let's look at number 2. In total quality management, number 2 says we need to involve all employees. Let's involve quality assurance, operations, R&D, human resources, logistics. We can even involve some of the vendors or contractors that we reach out to help us achieve our mission. Let's involve them in drafting our quality statements that we stand by. Have them help us write what is our core values, and let's get commitment from senior management as we do so. The core values are the basic concepts most important to the organization. So if we value all employees' opinions through that process, then we'll get some core values that everyone can feel good about. So this will carry over into our vision statement, mission statement, our quality statement, and our policy statement. So these are what drives the total quality management efforts. Number 3 in total quality management says we need to become process-centered. So Helen briefly mentioned or introduced process maps, but this is an illustration that it shows how for any given process, such as, let's say we're working at a shredded cheese plant and we have these cheese shredding machines. We have inputs, we have outputs, and we have a feedback loop. So let's draw a diagram that shows the inputs. We have materials, so we have cheese going into that shredded cheese machine, and that costs money. It costs money to put power on that machine, and we also have information and data going into that. And then let's look at what's involved in the process. We have people, equipment, procedures, and finally we have output, which also drives information. So as we're applying our quality tools, we have these 2 pieces of information that we can use. And then we use that to determine the outcomes, and then where the feedback loop is, that's where we see our continuous improvement, is if we use those outcomes to drive continuous improvement of the processes. And of course, all of these are dependent on conditions, and one condition might be the culture of quality in our organization. Next, let's look at total quality management principle number 4, which sounds a lot like number 2, so we won't spend much time on it. But basically, it's different in the sense that it says once we've identified our core values, once we've looked at our customers, and once we've became process-centered and started applying our quality tools to getting data, let's integrate this across all departments. Let's communicate it to the heads of all departments so they can share it with their folks. Let's not hide this information from any one department. Let's look at step 5 in total quality management, where we need to take a systematic and strategic approach. Strategic planning is a process an organization uses to prioritize and focus the efforts of the company, as well as the implementation of a plan. We use strategic planning to predict and anticipate changes in the business environment and position the company to respond to it. So we get into strategic planning tools for the organization to use when developing a quality plan. Some of these, for example, we could use a priority matrix that provides a method to prioritize and evaluate quality options for meeting customer demands. In addition, the organization might use tools such as the tree diagram, a matrix diagram, and a process decision tool to determine the best approach for satisfying customers. So strategic planning is a lot more than saying we'll be strategic, but it's a matter of using these tools to get everyone on the same page to move forward. In the next one, we get into continuous improvement, which is some carryover from the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle. But here in the total quality management approach, we have this 7-step process where we first identify the problem, we form a team, we define the scope of the project, we determine what's wrong and how will it be fixed, or we at least address that question. And then we'll understand how the process is currently performed. In number 2, we'll determine the target performance. We develop those cause and effect, or the fishbone diagrams, and we can determine the root cause of the problem. The third step here, we create new processes, we combine different processes, and we modify existing processes. So we really get all hands on the deck looking at the processes. In the fourth step, we identify the problem, form a team, we define the scope again, but we do it while we're looking at the opportunity for improvement. And you can look at the remaining of these 7 steps, but it's just a matter of constant improvement. How do we continue to improve? And looking at the last step here of continuous improvement within the total quality management approach, here we'll introduce the term cost of quality. Let's make our decisions based on facts, and let's make those facts based on how much is quality worth. So you can think about how expensive it is to do all of these programs. We have to have someone applying the quality tools, so we got to have their time as a cost. It costs money to bring in a consultant out to help us with our quality. So the cost of quality, there's these 4 categories of what they are. The first one includes the cost of identifying and eliminating failure in one product to prevent similar failures in others. And then the second one is the cost of bringing an appraiser out or some sort of consultant out to appraise what is our, how is our process right now. This could also be our own internal staff. Just measuring and analyzing where we're at right now. And then we add to that, what would happen if we had the internal failure, where it's the cost of identifying and correcting, replacing, disposing of, or doing other things with the non-conforming products if they don't reach the consumer. And then the last one here is the what if that non-conforming product did reach the customer. So once we've added up all of those costs and then we look at our solutions, we can make our decisions. So the essence of this slide is to say that we're not going to shoot from the hip and instead we need to gather data, and then gather more data, and then weigh that against these 4 costs of quality to move forward. And then this brings us to the last component of total quality management, which again, it expands into all departments, upper management, middle management, and those underneath, but it just continues to highlight the importance of communicating where we're at.